Hi there guys, this is Cassandra. I'm a Riffle in Time and I'm so glad you're here. Today we are talking all about shuffling. I'm going to be doing a Riffle Shuffle tutorial that I'm going to section off so you can skip straight ahead if that's all you're looking for. But I will also be talking disclaimers, what to look for in a deck that you want to shuffle. I'll go over my favorite shuffling decks, the riffability scale in the shop, and we'll just have a good old time and just shuffle together. I think it'll be fun. I want to start with the disclaimer of really kind of even just a reminder that any way you shuffle your deck will show wear over time. And I think just the Riffle Shuffle, it can be a little more of an intensive shuffle and will show wear, I think, a little quicker over time, especially if you're doing the bridge finish that can scratch the fronts too. But either way, you're going to be showing wear depending on how you're shuffling. It's just really wear. So the tops and bottoms and the faces will be that Riffle Shuffle. The sides and the back are going to be more of the overhand. And those are really probably the two most popular ways that I see to shuffle. But if there are more, you can always leave those below. It's the more you know, the better. And I think that the first thing I look for when I'm looking to shuffle a deck is I really ask myself, is this deck replaceable for me? Is it out of print or an expensive deck? Because that will really change my decision on how I'm going to shuffle moving forward. I do not Riffle Shuffle any deck that I'm answering is this replaceable? If it's a no, then I'm not going to Riffle Shuffle it, just because, again, I think it is a little more of an intensive wearing process. So another thing I really look at when I am looking for a shuffleable deck is the cardstock, and I think that in a really easy way to kind of explain that without doing terminology, because I don't know all the terminology. I know enough to get me in trouble, but I think bendability is really what you're looking for. You're gonna want something that has a good give to it. And I have some examples of what's not a good give, and probably one of the first ones I think of are decks like Rainbow Heart or Apparitions, which I have here. And these are those thicker cardstock, but I can bear, and that's full strength, and I am barely able to move that. And that's not even really a full half. So a cardstock that is thicker is going to be more difficult to shuffle. So I'm looking for that good thin cardstock. I'm also looking more towards the linen, or I'm not sure what the name of this cardstock is, but this is a really beautiful cardstock. And if you are into cardstock, usually around 320, 330. I think, if I'm remembering, I think it's black core is some of the best. Now, I also am looking at gilding. So look at your edges. An edge like this that's gilded, especially the gloss, are really susceptible to showing wear because you're going to chip off the paint, whether you're overhanding or you're riffling. But I also think it does make them stiffer. If I'm honest, I think about all of the decks that I know that have that gold gilding, even the Samurai Beto, it's not a big oversized deck like this, but it does have gold gilding. And let's see if you can see here. You can see the chipping there of me riffling it over time. So that is another thing I look for. If that's something you care about, I wouldn't riffle a deck that has gilding if you don't want to chip your gilding in quickly. And a good kind of reminder that when you're riffle shuffling, especially these thicker decks that don't have a great bendability, is that this can bend and it'll be fine. But another deck that, again, is really struggling, if you bend that in half, it's more like cardboard. It's going to physically fold and crease, and you will I actually was doing the riffability scale for the shop, and I was riffling Rainbow Heart, and I actually when I was coming down, the cards hit in a weird way and I bent back one of the cards and it is permanently damaged. So just be mindful. I want to show you a few kind of differences here in shuffling, and I think that this will be helpful to see kind of what I mean here. So this is my bread and butter. This is Way Home, which has some of my favorite shuffling cardstock, and I showed you how bendable that was. And this is really, really easy for me to do. This is a thicker cardstock. This has glossing. This is also a larger cardstock, more of an oracle. This is a lot harder to shuffle. Has a lot more pressure I'm having to give it. And though I can still do it, I'm having to do a lot more tension there, and it is a lot more of like an intensive process. And then I'll show you that apparition one, which is like, I can't actually do a bridge finish with this. I can riffle it technically, but the kind of cascade down where like, I'll show you. I can do the riffle part, kind of, but I cannot bend that to do the bridge. So this is a lot stiffer, and you can kind of see how that stiffness and thickness affects different cards. There are also different size decks. Depending on how small it is, you could also not be able to shuffle it. I find bigger decks are also really hard for me to shuffle because I have smaller hands. But a deck like the Gentle Tarot Linen is a playing card size, and this is a great deck for me to shuffle because I do have smaller hands. And this is still in the realm of where you can bend it really well. And this is a good shuffler. But take a deck like Extraordinary Incantations, and this is the smallest I think I've been able to shuffle. And I don't even do it like super well, but I can kind of, you see how it's already a little, since it's shorter, it just doesn't have the ability to bend as well. But that is about as small of a deck that I can riffle shuffle. There are also number of cards is a thing to consider. So an oracle deck could have 40 cards in it. And that'll be a little weirder to shuffle, but usually still possible. But the more cards you have in a deck, the harder it can also be to shuffle. So I have my Terra Volatile here. This deck I have the additional cards in, and so there's an additional suit and all of like the variation cards. I don't actually have the extra pack of cards. If anyone does and they don't want them, hit me up. I would love to buy those off of you. But this can also make a deck harder to shuffle, except when it has a beautiful linen cardstock. I think linen just really helps. But this deck, if it was any thicker, would be impossible to shuffle because of how many cards there are. So those are some considerations, but I think one of the big reasons I love to riffle shuffle is, one, a really good way to kind of mix up the cards. So if you have like a new deck or a deck that you've put back in order for some reason, or you just really want to clear the energy, I think riffling does a really good job at that. I think it takes a lot longer for me to overhand a deck into a good mix than it does for me to like riffle it to get it really mixed up. So I like to use riffle shuffling to really focus and like center my intention. Like I take a deep breath, think about my question, and I will riffle through my question, like the thoughts. And I actually usually finish pulling a card. So I'll riffle my set number of times, and then I will think about my intention, kind of come down to my body, be present, and then I will overhand before and to pull a card. So I kind of do both. And then I will either pull a card here. There's different ways that you can pull a card. You can do your break kind of situation. You can do the fan out. I don't know if you can see, but there's just a lot of different ways you can choose what cards fall out. So maybe it's something you do only to like really cleanse or mix up your cards, and then mostly you overhand it. Whatever, I guess what I want to say is whatever feels good for you is the way you should do it. And if you are thinking that the only way to shuffle is riffle shuffling, that's definitely not true. You can do it any way that feels good for you, and riffle shuffling doesn't make it like you a better tarot reader or anything like that. It's just something I really enjoy to do. I also use it as kind of like a anxiety relief. So if I'm feeling really anxious, this is actually the deck I usually bring if I have to go to like an event or something public. and I like to shuffle it, and it just really helps me calm my body down, kind of focus on the cards and the shuffle, and really talk myself through it. And again, because I use it to center myself in a reading, I think it's just also, it's like a really good practice for me to do that. I also want to talk about the riffability scale in the shop. So every deck that I have in the shop has on the product page a little rating, and it kind of explains at the bottom. The riffability scale, it is a scale from 0 to 5 on how riffable I think a deck is, and things that I consider are how bendable it is, the edges, a lot of the stuff we already talked about, like the gilding on it. The more bendable, the better the score. The more damageable, or like the stiffer it is, the worse the score. And I try to like put little things in there so I'm like clear about why. But I think it's just like a really cool way to share with you like my little bit of information, and like it's not like a graded like expert thing. It's just like my genuine opinion. But I thought it was like a really fun way that I could share with you that kind of information, because that's what I want to know. I want to know, is the deck riffleable? So I think I did even a little blog post about it, but I am going to, I think actually what I want to do first is I want to tell you my favorite decks to riffle. So my top 2 decks, without a doubt, are Way Home and Outgrow Yourself. Now, my Outgrow Yourself is a little more worn in, and so is my Way Home, so they're now my perfect. They already started off as a 5. So, but these are like my 1 and 2, definitely considered how worn they are though, as like an extra little sparkly treat on top. So like the more you shuffle your deck, the more worn in it feels. At least to me, I think it feels even better. So these are already a 5 to start out with. They're a 6 for me now. You know, they're above that. Future Ancestor is that, again, yummy linen. I love to shuffle. Really love Tarot Volatile. The Gentle Tarot Linen Edition. Let's think. Other decks that I love to shuffle. Visions in the Liminal Space. I was thinking about as well, another thing to consider is if you are learning how to shuffle, maybe choose either like a deck of playing cards or like a cheaper tarot deck. Maybe pick up a mass market that your intention is to just learn how to shuffle off of. I'm not sure about which versions of the like RWS decks are the best to shuffle, but I bet that's out there. I do have like the universal weight and a 10, but I don't have anything other than that, so I can't really speak on those. But a deck that I always think about is Tarot of the Sweet Twilight. I don't know if all Los Scarabeo cardstock is that way, but that's a pretty good shuffler. It's like $20. My suggestion is really just try to find a deck that is on the lower end if you're going to practice shuffling. Oh, actually 2 decks that are really good, I think. The Horror Tarot and the Pulp Fiction. I actually offer both of those in the shop, and the Tarot of the Sweet Twilight. But those are also really great, and I think they're all in that like $20 to $25 range. So if not, go to your like local store and pick up a playing card set, and just like getting used to shuffling in general. Now I will say that the actual tarot size cards for me are like my favorite to shuffle, like the traditional size. And again, the smaller and larger it gets will be a little off. So, but if you're just getting like into the practice of shuffling, it could be something good where like you're taking like a lower risk than like shuffling your like $50 deck here, you know? So we're gonna get into the shuffle tutorial. Alrighty guys, it is time for the tutorial, so grab your decks. I wanna give you hopefully a sweet little reminder that you are beginning something today, you are learning something new or practicing a skill, so don't get too in the like beat yourself up headed space. Give yourself some grace. Remember that as cheesy as it may sound, practice makes perfect. So it took me a lot of hours of practice to get my riffle to the stage it is now, and I just don't be discouraged if it doesn't look how you want it to look by the end of this video. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, you want to see something closer or different, comment below. I can even do like a little YouTube short of like an answer to your question, like to show you. So I'm really happy to do that. I will try to be as clear as possible and give you all the tips and tricks I can though. So what we do to start is really just grab your deck and we are going to split it in half. And it doesn't have to be perfect, but just as close as like casually possible. And then at this point you want to face them belly to belly so you can get like a good grip. You're going to be using your middle and ring finger and then your thumb on the bottom. And I kind of use my pointer and my ring finger as like my outside holders. What I'm going to do next is I want them to be even, so I move my pinky and I'm going to kind of tap them down there to get them all kind of situated. Then I'm going to do the same. I'm going to grab with my middle and ring and my thumb, tap them down to get them even. This is the moment where you want to think about if you want to read reversals or if like you want your cards upright. This is when you're going to look at your cards and make sure your top is facing your bottom. Make sure they're facing the same way like they are right now. And this will keep your cards from getting mixed up. If you want them to read reversals, then just do them however. Just flip them upside down. So you have your deck, you have it kind of tapped and evened out. You want to face your thumbs to each other. So thumb to thumb. And we're going to start kind of giving that pressure for the bend. You can do that by just pinching. I like to use my pointer finger to give it a little extra support. I don't have great hand strength, so that just gives me a little oomph. And you're going to face with that little bend and you're going to start letting your thumb, I'll show you here, you're going to start letting go with your thumb. You're going to just like pull it back a little bit and start letting the cards go. But you're going to do it alternating. So here, here, here. And this is just a real gentle pullback. And then to end the riffle, technically, all you have to do is close it up. The bridge finish is an option I choose to do, but you do not have to. So that alone was a riffle shuffle. The bridge variation is just something I like. So we're going to, again, split it in half. I like to kind of, this is how I end up grabbing them, I think realistically. But remember, you got your middle two fingers up there, your bottom is your thumb, face them, and you're gonna drop alternating. This is a moment also to kind of pay attention to where your cards are positioned. If you end up like too far away, you won't be able to like push them together. So if you started off and you realize that, you can actually move them closer together. But you're just trying to get a good mix up there. So this is actually not a great mix up right now, but I'm trying to do it a little slower to show you. But when you're doing this, you want to make sure that you're giving yourself enough overlap so that you can push them back together or do that bridge. So again, we're grabbing our cards, thumb cascading down. I actually like to do a little bit of a kind of tilt there, just so that like, I think it sometimes will like stop cards from, because sometimes when you do this, like if you let go of them at the same time, they can hit each other. But you're just practice. I didn't mean to to do the bridge finish, but actually let's do the bridge finish so I can show you that next. So you have your cards, we tap them out. We're going to do the riffle down. And now instead of pushing them together, you're going to place your thumb or thumbs here, and you're going to have your cards kind of tucked into like that bend of your knuckles there. And you're going to keep all four fingers here on the bottoms. And then you're going to start kind of rounding them in. Keep your thumb here, because if not, they're going to fly. So just wanted to show you, and they will really fly if you have enough tension on them. But you're going to start the rounding. You're going to keep them held there. When you want to start the cascade down for the bridge, you start releasing your fingers. I'm trying to do it slowly so you can see. But we're going to split in half. Belly. Let them go, alternating. Bring them up, curl them in. Again, keeping that. And then Kind of just release that tension so they can fall. Now, this is something that you will practice over and over again, so it becomes more seamless like that. And I just get, like, I'll get sloppy with it, and, you know. But it took me a really long time to be able to just kind of throw them around. And I still make mistakes. Like, this is actually getting a little far away. So, again, I'm adjusting that in the middle. But as I was telling you see how that's sliding down the face of those cards? That can cause a little wear over time. And as something I wanted to point out, I have a fresh copy of Way Home here. This one I got because I needed to have a clean copy for photographs, and I want to do like a little video on it. So I want to show you though, let me see if I can quickly find the Fool, but you can kind of already see the wear here. Actually, I just saw the Magician. We'll do the Magician because it'll be... This is the kind of wear over time. You'll see my edges here. And this is going to be the real killer. Like, you're going to see here the real wear that a Riffle Shuffle is going to do to your edges. Again, any shuffle will do it, because you're going to look, you see how these are like really, really fresh and flush, and these are kind of a little chippied. But it'll also, if you do overhand, it'll come off there. So you'll see this is not as clean as that. But I did wanted to give you a little peek at what that kind of wear will look like. But I want to just keep practicing with you. We'll do it a couple more times. So you're going to split your deck in half. Face belly to belly, we're going to take those middle finger and the thumbs, middle fingers and the thumbs. Again, I'm holding, like when I'm moving them around, I'm usually holding them by that. But taking them, cascading these down by just taking that thumb and pulling it back, letting them go as evenly as possible. We're gonna round and just let our fingers go there. Split in half. Good position. Alternatingly remove those thumbs. Sometimes we're gonna throw a card, and that's okay. Thumbs here, round in, let go. Split in half, lay it, grab it, flip it, reverse it, you know. But I hope this makes sense. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm happy to answer them. And until next time, I love you.